Last week I had lunch with my friend Walt. We have lunch about once a year. He had been my patient, his parents had been my patients, and we enjoyed talking about his two sons, one of whom was a CPA with a large energy corporation, and the other was an otolaryngologist who worked mostly in the medical center. I asked Walt about the family, but he interrupted me and he said, "Dr. Dan, we usually talk about my family. I want to know a little bit more about you. I want to know about your background. Tell me about your going to college and how you got into medical school." So we started off. I asked him if he had ever heard of Geneva College in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, and he said no. I said, "You wouldn't have much reason to. Small college, 400 students in the entire student body. But that's where I went to college, and I need to tell you about that place." Beaver Falls was about 15 miles from where I lived, and my uncle, who managed that Jackson shoe store in Beaver Falls, would pick me up every morning and take me to Beaver Falls and to Geneva, where I have spent the day at classes or studying in the library. The year was 1934, and a good reason for going was the tuition was $25 a semester. I knew Geneva's reputation, though it was terribly small, that if the students did well, they had an excellent chance of getting into medical school. The whole place reeked of place trying to be new, but hanging on to its being an old institution. It was set up by the sect of Presbyterians, the Reformed Presbyterians. I think their headquarters was out in the Midwest someplace. They were kind of rigid. The women on campus were not allowed to wear any makeup, no lipstick, no fingernail polish, no earrings. They had a fairly modern, up-to-date place to live on campus. The men's place was small, and not many men stayed there, most of them being able to commute from the surrounding community. The main building, which was named Old Main, was really very, very old. Wood was dark, floors were wood. It was mainly for administration and a few classes. The only up-to-date was its library, which was in the form of some ancient structure, but had an excellent collection of books and papers for students. So how did I decide to go there? Or rather, why did my family decide that I go there? It was cheap. It was close by, and as I said, it had a good reputation that if I did well, I would be able to get into medical school. It was sometime after I had left there and gone to medical school and entered practice that I found out why it had such a good reputation. That reason was that the professor of biology who was in charge of filling in application for students to medical school, he and his wife would get in his car and they would travel to medical schools throughout Pennsylvania and further and make personal contacts with the admitting committee in those schools. And I feel certain that it was his personal contact that made it much easier for students to get into medical school. It was a marvelous experience in the middle of the Depression to know that I was going to be able to further my ambitions.